where I am. How beautiful is this? Overpopulation, my foot. Give me a break. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I can't stand this whole idea that the earth has reached its carrying capacity. I got to hear it from people like Al Gore and others out there that are always preaching this crap, the Bill Gates of the world, and so many others out there, right? They talk like this, like these are the experts. These are the ones that know what's best for humanity. They know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And the truth is the earth is overpopulated. We got to reduce the population and cull it. And if you're stuck on a crowded freeway, man, I can understand it. But remember how the money is part of that evil too. And that is an evil, okay? It is. Traffic is an evil. I will admit that. But all that goes away when we're not all punching clocks and all this crap. Okay, we don't need to be punching clocks. Everything goes away. Everything gets better when God is in charge. And that's what's coming, okay, is that God is going to be in charge. And this is what we need to be readying our hearts and minds for, is that day, that new age that's going to be idealistic as God dictates. Not how these people tell us, these utopians that say, well, once we get the earth down to 500 million, but there's no discussion about all this suppressed clean technology that they call disruptive technology, right? So how is the earth overpopulated? Let God decide that. He gave us a life force and he can pull it. One more miracle. He can lay out the universe with all the galaxies and the solar systems and all this. But God can't, he's not, he's a little incompetent here, so we got to help him along. The earth has reached its carrying capacity and all this stuff, even from people that are far more intelligent, intellectual than me, but they're not seeing these things. There's blind spots in some ways. They're not trusting God wholly, completely, to say, leave it to God. Just work toward justice. And what is justice? It's universal freedom. Okay, that's it. It's got to be universal or it's not true. It's not complete. It's not absolute. There's no way you, me, or anybody else can experience true freedom, true happiness, unless it's experienced wholly by everybody. Yeah, I could have been a veteran. At 26, I tried to join the Coast Guard, but I was too old at 26. And then in 2001, I was 43, and I called the National Guard on the morning of 9/11. And I was told on the phone that I was too old at 43, even though I felt like I was at the prime of my life. Never been stronger, at 43, I remember. I know Alex is struggling with some health problems, Alex Jones, and the best advice I could give him is try to lose some weight, Do what I do. I can eat a banana until noon or 1 o'clock or later sometimes. And then I'll have a couple of yogurts and maybe get an afternoon siesta, nap, and maybe have a few pieces of healthy bread. Trader Joe's makes some good products, and then kind of a later dinner between 7 and 9, something like that usually. Maybe some eggs, and Trader Joe's makes a good stir-fried vegetable rice. You can get all your protein. It's very important to get enough protein. Men need 50 to 60, and I'm sure Alex, with his body type, he probably needs about 70, 80, 90, or 100. But you can get all that protein, and you can eat all the fat you want. This is what I can do. I can eat all I want, and I cannot gain a pound. I don't know. It's just my metabolism, I guess, some people. But I think that having that extra gravity is not good. Even though guys like to be husky, being slim is known to be healthier, and to let yourself get hungry, because that way it allows your body to go through a cleansing process. It's kind of like fasting. That's the whole idea behind fasting. But I know I could probably help people gain weight. I don't have any license to do it, but I bet you I could by just, hey, do the diet I'm doing, and And you can eat all the butter you want, like Dr. Joel Wallach says, a cube of butter a day keeps the doctor away. I'll buy that. I don't eat the sweetbreads. I'm not into eating cow brains or anything, but and I don't eat meat, but that's only because I don't want to be a hypocrite myself. I don't want to make other people kill cows and work in slaughterhouses if I'm not willing to do it. I'm really, to be quite honest, I'm not willing to do it. So I don't. The only kind of meat I eat is stuff I'm willing to catch and kill myself, which is fish. And I'll occasionally do a bird because I figure, well, we could, as a group effort, go out on Thanksgiving and catch a turkey, and I'll play some part in that capture and kill and slaughter and cleaning of that bird. But other than that, there's plenty of good proteins out there. I mean, the beans and nuts and seeds and grains and even vegetables. A lot of vegetables are high in protein. You got your peanut butter, you got your fish, of course, and eggs. What else? There's a lot of different forms of protein that don't involve eating cows and pigs and sheep and goats and stuff, I guess. So, yeah, getting enough protein is not a dairy. Dairy is a huge source of protein for me, and so anyhow. And I've talked about the supplements I'm into. I love that charcoal. When my stomach gets upset, and it can't hurt me. As far as I'm concerned, a couple of caps every now and then of this activated charcoal, and I say, hey, you know what? My body feels good, likes it, kind of like these people that eat clay. I think it's kind of like that. It absorbs toxins, and we're all getting toxins. I mean, these chemtrails and crap, the toxins in the food. I mean, who can avoid getting some chemicals? We're breathing chemicals. I mean, toxins are everywhere. So I recommend that. I know that Alex Jones at his InfoWars store, he sells these products, the lung cleanse, and he's got these clean out products, like liver cleanse and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sure a lot of that stuff is good. They just came out with a new product. He and Dr. Group came out with a new product that I wouldn't mind trying, actually. It's this one that for the guts, because apparently this gut issue is ubiquitous now, and it's affecting everybody's brain. We're a little soft in the brain because of this. I know my memory seems to be affected. So, anything that can do that can help clean the gut out and make these probiotics more absorbable. It's something to do with these probiotics not being even to be absorbable, even though it's the best out there, active bacteria and stuff that's good bacteria for the gut. But a lot of people can't assimilate it, and so you need this other product that Dr. Group just helped to come up with, to first cleanse out the gut, to make it so that these other things can be absorbed, the probiotics. But another thing I like is this the oil of oregano. That's good for the gut. It helps keep the candida down, because candida is a natural bacteria in our gut. You need some of it, I guess, but we get too much of it. It's from the sugar. Sugar is like a toxin, and it causes a lot of problems. Look into it. So sugar, especially artificial type, should be avoided as much as possible, I recommend it. Drink lots of water. If you're going to do charcoal, you better drink lots of water. You're going to get thirsty. So anyhow, enough on nutrition, and I'm sure Alex Jones has good products there at the store. I've tried some, and I can vouch for that I know he only sells the best as far as quality goes. So I recommend it. He needs support. He's got a huge budget. He's got a lot of people working for him. So I know he's making a lot of money, but I guess he needs to keep making it, because he's always talking about it. And I understand. Who doesn't understand? I mean, money, and we're all stuck between a rock and a hard spot. As much as I hate money, and everybody else can hate money, we still have to contend with it while we have to contend with it. But this is why I'm always saying, means to an end. That's all I see good, true, supply and demand, free market capitalism as. A means to an end. An end to where we're totally free from the stuff. And I've already pointed out what the markers are, what the evidence for that is going to be. You're going to see your currency going up in worth. And that's what you want to see. That goes on and on and on until we're all so rich that we just don't care about money anymore. That's how it will happen. Well, I'm going to read quickly through a few of the thoughts I've had this past week, and you can think about them as I go, but I've got to get through it because this is the last tape. I brought this extra tape, but I don't have any more tapes to stick in here. So after this, I'm done. After another 15 minutes here, it looks like. So, tyrannical industrial complex is a cornucopia of evil goings on. That's what it is. A tyrannical industrial complex. That's what we've got. Actually solving societal problems? Question mark. That's the most radical notion ever. And I've pointed out why that's so. All these people that would be affected, all the status quo, the special interest groups that their jobs depend on the poverty, because without the poverty, the crime plummets, the debt plummets, the dubious warfare plummets, everything else plummets. The social welfare agencies aren't going to, people aren't going to be employed in there. We don't need to be concerned about this. If we were all doing jobs that were productive, we could all work very little. We're just going to have to get creative, get inventive, use our imaginations, for crying out loud. Consider what the option is, what the alternative is to not thinking. I mean, it's just being stupid and being disempowered and just, going where? Where do we go from here? If you're just floundering, we got to know what we're looking for if we're ever to find it. And that's freedom. Freedom from the money masters, money monsters. Freedom from Satan, man, this false god, this pseudo god. Genuine freedom is an absolute and universal condition. Those whom ever thought they were ever really free are actually just deluded. Worldly values exalted in this world, despised by the one true God. That's right. That's right. The things that are highly valued by men, it's written, are detestable often in the sight of God. I mean, it's not like your husband or your wife, right? You highly value them. It's not like, God's talking about that value. But he's talking about these things, the temporal things, the things that cause all our problems, all the strife that cause men to sin, right? Compromise their own conscience because they need a buck, they need a paycheck. So we've got to be merciful to each other and be understanding and compassionate. We've got to show the grace of God to people and convince them when we know they're on the wrong side, they're deluded, they're deceived by the worldliness. We've got to help them to understand. We've got to bring them the good news. A civilization imbued and inculcated with madness, with insanity. That's what we live in. If one professes Christianity, they believe some weird and wild stuff. That's very true. Read your Bible and you'll see what I mean by that statement. Understanding colluding special interest groups and their silent non-compete clause. I've talked about that last week. Yeah, that's it. These groups don't have to say what they're doing, but they're fixing prices. They're manipulating markets. That's a non-compete clause because competition is antithetical to market manipulation and price fixing. You can't do it. So it's not true capitalism in any way, shape, or form. I pointed out in 2008 that bailout, that should have been when, if true capitalism is what we had, you would have seen a market correction. These people that caused the problems wouldn't have got to be rewarded for it. Hell no. No, what you do is you renegotiate with the bank. Say the worth of my house just went way down. Then you got to readjust my principal here, okay, to reflect that. That's what we got to understand, that high housing prices are never good. High housing prices, high cost of living is never good. It's never any better than high taxes, period, end of story. Gosh, people got to get that through their head. That's exasperating to me, that people don't see that correlation between your cost of living. I'm not talking about luxury items at all. I'm just talking about basic, essential human needs. The cost for housing, the cost for food, the cost for water, the cost for energy, clothes, all this stuff that we can't get away from, that we all want, getting your car fixed, okay? And this chain reaction that causes services and labor costs to go way up. Because what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, we know the cost of living went up. That's a justification for what? A cost of living adjustment. If you don't get a cost of living adjustment when your cost of living goes up, mathematically there's no difference than if you got a pay decrease. So don't blame labor. We know what came first. It wasn't labor saying, hey, I'm trying to keep my head above water here. Never blame them. Unless the cost of living is in decline and they're just being greedy. No, we could give people wage decreases if your cost of living is in decline. We should all be sickened at the madness. If the American Constitution should ever fail, God's will won't. Believe me, there is plenty of wealth for everybody. That's the truth. Look around you. Figure it out. What do you think? These trillions of dollars? What do you think? That could belong to and it does belong to everybody. If God had his way, it would belong to everybody. Opposite to equality is inequality.